So this week's current event, I have decided to do one on Michael Cohen's memoir that he will be publishing before the November election. I thought that this topic would actually be very informative and be very good, seeing as the November election is coming up right around the corner, and many people always are in search for digging up information on presidential candidates and what they can find out, inside scoops, and finding out just a little bit more about who is in office already, who is going to be potentially elected to be in office for this next year, and finding out the deep, dark, dirty secrets of them. So going on to Michael Cohen's memoir, Michael Cohen was actually very, very close to Trump, and he saw Trump actually as like a mentor to him. And then he decided to go ahead and expose Trump after all of these things that had been going on, that not only Trump was involved in, but Michael Cohen was also involved in. So one of the very main points that Cohen decides to make is that Trump actually slept with a porn star, and then he decided to pay her to keep her silent about his actions. There are actually several other things that Cohen decides to mention in this memoir, such as sexual assault, deciding to make inappropriate comments about his underage daughter, and other things that Trump decides to lie about. So the first thing that is to note about this is that these allegations are very, very important, especially for somebody that is going to be in office potentially next year, and these can change a lot of people's minds. Now, Cohen is also said in this article that he was mentally ill, and that is what led to his following of Trump and Trump's actions. Another thing that is stated in the article itself is that Cohen has lied many times before. And so those are things very important to note when we are reading this memoir about Trump, and to just keep in the back of our minds that he's not the most upstanding character, and he is also involved in some of these scandals. One of them is the porn star scandal, where Trump tried to cover up the charges by paying Cohen legal fees, and that being where the money had actually went to. Well, we may never actually know the true story of what went on, because this usually does happen with people that are higher up. Things get swept under the rug, things are accused that aren't true, and many other things. But I decided to pick this because I think it's pretty important to most people. Most people look at the allegations, and even if they are not true, that is in the back of their mind when they're thinking about voting. Of course, right now it's kind of like a race to see who is the worst presidential candidate, Trump or Biden, and everybody loves digging up dark secrets and things that have been swept under the rug. So I thought these would be very important to note. And another thing also is Cohen's standing. That's something that really needs to be kept in mind. Now, with this memoir, it could actually lead to Trump losing his election in the upcoming year, because after people read it, they might decide, if all these things are true, then I wouldn't want him as a president. Or some people might decide to forego any investigation and believe them ahead of time. And I'm not sure what actually evidence will be proved in this memoir, as it has not came out just yet. But the memoir might lead to hardcore evidence that will also turn voters away. So my first question I would like to ask everybody is, after reading this article, would you want to read the memoir? Do you think reading the memoir matters to you, or does it not come into play? The second thing I would like to ask is, because of Cohen's knocked character and him being implemented in some things, do you think this takes away from his credit, even after him stating himself that he was mentally ill? Does this take away any credibility from anything he says, or do you still view him as a credible source? The third thing I would like to ask is, Depending on what you read, do you think this will change your vote? And it can change your vote towards Trump, it could change your vote away from Trump, but do you think that this would change your vote depending on what you read?